In this episode of reDefine, we talk with Pulitzer Prize winning photographer Brian Smith. We chatted in Las Vegas about his experience creating a collection of Academy Award portraits with top celebrities. And he shares some pretty clever insight as to how he caught the eye of top magazine editors. So listen in close.
Special thanks to our sponsors, Adorama, the photography people, and T1 Line, the voice and data solution experts.
Thank you, Brian Smith, for joining us here today.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
This book, Art and Soul, I'm going to start with this, which is a little unusual, but I'm flipping through it and I'm salivating over how gorgeous it is, and that's why you laminated the pages.
Yes.
Because people do that. Tell us about this book.
Well, this book was probably one of the greatest projects that's ever been dropped in my lap. I work with Sony, and Sony loves to support the arts. So I had a call right before Oscar Week 2009 asking if I would be willing to join the Creative Coalition and photograph artists from entertainment field and combine their celebrity portraits of them with their handwritten thoughts about what the arts means to them. And actually the conversation was much more jagged than that because I kept saying yes repeatedly throughout that. And
let me explain the project, yes.
Wouldn't let Kayla Lindquist get the words out, but it's just an amazing project, and it was supposed to be 3 days, and midway through the first day we knew we couldn't stop at that, so we continued actually over 15 months photographing 20 days of just bringing celebrities together to advocate for why it's important to fund arts in America.
Did you find anybody struggling with how to answer that question?
I found it was like remarkable how all of them could jump right in there, and they all had a lot to say. And I think it was interesting because everybody had such different stories, and there were some reoccurring themes. But what was actually really interesting for me is they were writing these in another room as I was shooting. Usually we'd be shooting one person, and then they'd go on to write and stuff. So I didn't really see all the messages until I started to put the book together.
Yeah.
And as I was laying out the book and putting the messages next to it, it's like it took on so much more meaning to me, even as the photographer, having met these people.
Yeah, and I'm looking through this and I'm thinking, did you have some standout favorites?
I think if I had to pick one day that was kind of surreally wonderful is a day we added one day in New York because Anne Hathaway was leaving town and asked if we could start one day early to shoot it because she wanted to be a part of it. And once again, you really don't hesitate on that one. Yes. So we photographed Anne in the morning, and we had a wonderful hour shooting her, and then packed up from there and headed up to Tony Bennett's Park Avenue apartment to photograph him on Central Park, and it was really, really amazing. So it was one of those days that you kind of, thank the photo gods for giving you a career like this.
You're from Iowa, right?
Yes.
So how do you get from Iowa to New York, Miami, and Tony's penthouse? Tony Bennett's penthouse.
Well, it was probably a journey that started with the arts. I was always interested in photography, and I went to college at the University of Missouri. So I've gradually worked my way to warmer weather until I ended up in Miami. And I photographed people, over the years from all walks of life. And I think, one of the great things is I can be photographing Alan Greenspan one day and then fly back to Miami to photograph DMX. And I think that variety is something that I've always really loved.
That's quite some variety right there.
Yeah. Less than you'd imagine, though. But yeah.
We're going to have to tell me that one later.
Well, Alan's got some mean chops with him. It's like most people are not familiar with his rap work.
But you're in Miami. But how do you break in? How do you get to the people that got you to the people?
One of the things that I did in the business is I spent the first 10 years as a newspaper photographer, but that whole time I was always was doing a lot of work for magazines. So I was shooting for magazines like Rolling Stone and Sports Illustrated, but I really was doing more photojournalistic stories, and I wanted to move more to celebrity portraits because one of the things that I loved was spending time and really telling people's story, not sitting back as a fly on the wall. It's like I wanted that contact with them.
So you didn't want to be just removed photojournalist?
Yeah, I liked meeting the people, not, you know, when you're a sports photographer, you shoot people with a 600 millimeter lens, and you really don't get to know them. So I always loved the contact and getting to know something about them, even if it's just for 5 minutes. So I wanted to move in that direction. That's kind of the catch-22 where, you know, you can't just call up Julia Roberts and say, I'm trying to build my book. Can we do it? Can we do a shoot? But I kind of thought of other things that I could do. And one day I was watching CNN and Dixie Evans came on TV, and Dixie was a legendary burlesque dancer in the 1950s and 60s. She was known as the Marilyn Monroe of strippers. And so I was watching that, and I kind of thought to myself, this would be a dream assignment to shoot this. And I thought for a few more minutes, it's, you know, you just can make your own assignments. Why not just shoot it for myself? And so I called her up.
You weren't commissioned.
I called her up and I explained, you know, the work that I did and said I'd really love to photograph her. And she was delighted to do a shoot. So we went out there, and my wife and I spent an afternoon with her that you couldn't imagine getting any better, except toward the end of the day, she mentioned it's too bad that we weren't going to be able to come back in a couple months when all her friends were there. And immediately my ears perked up and I asked friends, and it turned out she ran a museum of exotic dance and they had annual reunions. So we came out the next couple years to photograph all the burlesque dancers who were coming back in for that. And that became a great way that I could segue into celebrity without actually shooting actresses and actors from the screen. I could show that I could work with performers and draw their personality out. And I sent that out as promos to editors and immediately started getting work to do similar work.
It was different. We share a publisher, Peach Bit, and you have another book coming out.
Yes.
What is that?
In this fall, we'll have the first title for them, New Writers Series, Voices That Matter. I'm doing a book based on a talk that I'm doing here at WPPI on the secrets of great portraits. So it's, you know, all the celebrity portraits and portraits of people that I've shot over the years, and, you know, really the lessons behind them, or what was the important thing that made those pictures work.
What's one great portrait tip?
One great portrait tip is to try to find a way to connect with your subject. I think that's the most important thing you can do, and it actually was one of the early pieces of advice that I was given when I was just starting out in the business. I was showing my sports and news photographs to a photo editor trying to get an internship at the newspaper, and he kind of shook his head and said, "Kid, all this shows me you can do is focus a telephoto lens and capture action. It doesn't show me that you can capture personality." He said, "Go out, shoot a portrait of 50 strangers who you meet, introduce yourself to them, and capture something about their personality." And there's a lot of aspects of this. Part of it is just getting over your fear of, you know, meeting people and talking to them. And,
I don't know you. What do you think of me?
Yes, convincing them to do what you want. And it's it's actually a great exercise I still do today. As we're traveling, I love to do portraits of people in, you know, whatever foreign countries we're in. So it's absolutely the best piece of advice that I've had. And it actually, you know, came up as we were doing the Art and Soul book, as I was realizing I was kind of putting together a big mural of 50 of the images. We did a wall-size mural for the Photo Plus Expo, and I was looking at all the images together, and I realized there are the 50 strangers right there. So,
that's
you know,
cool. That's very
it
cool.
really is. It is advice that I keep coming back to.
Yeah, just resonated. It sounds like it changed a lot of your career from that going forward.
Yeah, and I think that's the greatest thing for most people to do, is to realize that, you know, all the cameras, all the lighting, everything that you do in a shot means nothing unless you kind of form that connection that you can draw out the personality.
Agreed. What I would love to do is just ask you some rapid fire questions.
All right.
And just top of mind, like first thing you think of. No pressure, except tons of pressure.
Yes.
Okay.
Will there be prizes?
No, there are prizes. There's really no upside
that
at all.
That takes the pressure off completely there. Yeah,
there's zero benefit to you for even answering these questions. Strobes, constants, or speed lights?
Strobes.
Ooh, that was good. Own editing or outsource or digital artist?
Own.
I actually knew that, but I had to ask it.
Yeah.
Canon, Nikon, Sony, or Fuji?
Sony.
Okay. Any gear that you pull out just to impress a client?
Just to impress a client. Isn't everything that we do just to impress a client? You guys are watching this now, right? Okay.
They're like, yes.
Yes. I have been known to, even though I can shoot the majority of what I do with one body and one lens, I have been known to pull out every piece of gear that I know and stack it so the clients see it as they come through.
Look at how accomplished I am.
It's known as the dogs and ponies.
Tripod or no?
No tripod.
No tripod. Ever?
No, not never, but I like moving in and out.
Okay, 3 favorite lenses.
Starting with Sony's 24-70 2.8 zoom, beautiful lens. Zeiss, super sharp, love that lens. If I had to pick one, that would be it. Number 2, they're Sony's Zeiss 85-1.4, and 3, the 135-1.8, also super, super sharp. But those 3 lenses for portraits, I'm pretty much set.
Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Really appreciate your time.
It's a lot of fun.
Really enjoyed that conversation, Brian. Join us next time when we meet up in New York City with renowned food and travel photographer Penny De Los Santos. Until then, though, take your portraits to a whole new level with the Doug Gordon Torchlight. This little light has all the features you need. It's dimmable, rechargeable, and comes with a set of plastic gels so you can quickly adapt from tungsten to daylight and back again. You can find the Torchlight at Adorama.com.